So, Penguin, would you like to do the honors and get these introductions?
Sure thing. In the top left spawn location, spawning as our Blue Zerg player representing Team Liquid, it's going to be none other than the foreign hope, potentially the best foreigner out there right now. It is Snute. And his opponent spawning in the bottom right spawn location, representing Team Empire. He is probably the most consistent foreign Terraner in the history of StarCraft 2. He is Empire Happy.
So, King's Sejong Station. This map, of course, picked from the process of veto elimination, and that means that we are getting the map that these two are most comfortable on, theoretically. From this point forward, it will be loser's map choice. In terms of openings, Penguin, what kind of things are you expecting to see from these two?
Well, Snute is a guy who does like to throw out some cheeses every now and then, but usually he's just a very macro-based player, and Happy is kind of the same way. Happy just kind of does the same thing every time. He just goes into his very, very standard play, although he has been mixing it up the last few months, adding in some mech, adding in some bio, and I haven't really seen all too much of Happy's play recently, though, because the one tournament he played, Copenhagen Games, was on at the same time as you and I were casting I-51, so I didn't catch too much of that. So I'm really going to be kind of interested to see how Happy decides to play this out. Snute, though, probably going to be playing a relatively standard game. I think it's safe to say that he's going to be pretty confident in his just standard ZVT.
I'd say that's a fair thing to say, because Snute, as we mentioned while we were loading in, is by many considered the top foreign player at the moment in the world. And it's for good reason. He's had some very impressive results. He's done very well in WCS. His overall WCS rank is the highest of any foreign player globally. So he's got a lot of good things going for him. But Happy, as we've seen, he is a real good contender. He's someone who can do an incredible amount of stuff, and he's actually opening pretty creatively here, not going for a Reaper expand, which we often see, instead grabbing out a couple of Marines. But note he's hiding them, pulling them back until the second one pops, so it doesn't reveal that that's what he's planning.
I can't remember who this was, but we saw somebody do this in either Pro League or GSL really recently. And this is a really nice way to be able to just pick off that early Overlord, and he's going to get it for sure here with that second Marine popping on out. I don't really think there's any way that's going to get away here. He's going to try to make for the high ground there over to the left-hand side. The Marines do have just enough damage output to kill that off before it gets there. And that's really a little bit of a thorn in Snute's side here already. He's forced to already create another Overlord that he wouldn't otherwise have had to do. And it's also just going to delay his drone production here because, of course, he's got those larvae just sitting there idly when they could have been already morphing into drones.
The lucky thing for him is he was able to get the Queen started before it went down. If that had come in before that, the Queens were begun, that would have been an even bigger hit for him. But Happy just already showing that he's not necessarily going to go for the most basic, takes first blood, and has set himself off in this best of 7, looking pretty happy.
Yeah, and he did try to get another Overlord just poking around with those Marines. If you had them on the field already, you might as well go looking, but Snute, on top of things, already did get his second Overlord onto a high ground area over to the left, so not going to be able to pick that off is Happy. Happy now, behind this, going to be opting to go on up to the factory here, and this is just a very, very standard Wings of Liberty-esque opening we're seeing out of him. He's still going to go into the standard Hellion play here, but he's not going to have the Reapers that often buffer and do some kind of damage to slow down the creep before the Hellions can get on out, which is a little bit of a difference from this build to just a standard Reaper Hellion opening.
The advantage, though, that it gives are those Marines early on out. Generally, if you were seeing the Reaper expand, you'd have maybe one Marine in this bunker if you were lucky, so it means that Happy is quite safe. Not that he needs to worry about any aggression, though. 10 drones being pumped out by Snute at a time. While he does have Zergling speed and, of course, still gas trickling through, he is just going super economical at the moment, and this is something that we've come to expect from Snute. What we haven't come to expect, though, is a lot of mech play. Second factory coming through, and this should be a Blue Flame play.
Yeah, this is not necessarily going to be back. You can go Blue Flame Hellion into Bio. It is something that we do see, but it could well transition into mech as well. Most importantly, what we do know for sure is that this is absolutely, as you said, going to be a Blue Flame Hellion play. Interestingly, Happy's already pulled 4 of his guys off of gas. He's only mining with 1 guy in either gas at the moment because he's going to be heavily investing in Hellions and Hellions and Hellions. And he only really needs the gas to get that Blue Flame upgrade once that Tech Lab finishes.
And Blue Flame, of course, just means these Hellions are going to become catastrophic against both the Lings and also against drones. So it's important that Snute, with the speedlings that he's got out on the map at the moment, tries to deal with the smaller numbers of Hellions before they start getting Blue Flame. But with the Lings alone, there's no real way that Snute's going to be able to breach the natural base of Happy. It's too well defended with this wall off.
Well, we do have, really, really nice lift there on that depot. That was very, very important here. And while the Lings are still going to try to chase down these Hellions, most importantly, he doesn't get into the main. He doesn't get into any real position to get scouting information here. And while he does, of course, know that there's Hellions out on the map, this is just Hellions coming out of one of these two factories so far. These Marines patrolling are going to deny any Overlords. There aren't any that could scout anyway, but really nice play here from Happy just in case. And from here, we've got more drones on the way for Snute. A third base complete, double evolution chambers coming on in. No sign of a Roach Warren or anything of that nature yet. And if this catches you off guard as a Zerg player, you can straight up die to it.
Those additional Hellions won't have been seen either. The Watchtower was not held by Snute. So Snute...
They were seen by the Overlord, though.
Were they? Okay, that's actually a really good point then, because getting those Hellions seen has alerted Snute to what's coming. He immediately throws down the Roach Run, which means he gets Roaches, but also has the ability to wall off here if required. But already, Happy racking up some damage. 5 workers now killed, a lot of Lings going down, and there isn't too much to defend against this.
This was not a good start to this by Happy at all. He's already lost 3 of these Hellions. 3 of them are incredibly low on hit points as well, and with this many Queens out, Snute could actually do some damage to these, but actually leaving the wall open, these Hellions may not have that much health, but they still do all of the damage that they would otherwise do, and they're in here with Blue Flame, doing a lot of damage here onto these drones already, killing way more than he really should have, and 16 workers killed already here. Not a bad start here for Happy, because this is not an all-in out of him at all. He's going into the double armories, and he will be showing us mech to follow this up.
Now, this is really cool, because Snute, he's one of the big players of Swarm Host style play, and so going up against the mech build, if it does get into the real late stages, this is going to be a real duke out. Now, as we got Snute, just checking to see if he's taken the third yet. Won't see it, but does see a lot more Hellions on their way. Considering Snute hasn't built a single Roach yet, I'm glad to see a few in production.
Yeah, just a couple of Roaches here to probably defend against any potential further Hellion follow-ups, because he's not getting ranged attacks, so he's definitely not going to be going into Roach Hydra Viper kind of play. 5 factories already for Happy is really going to allow him to get that production going way, way faster than we otherwise would be able to see him do. And a lot more Hellions coming on forward here. These are an additional 12, or 10 rather, as he's going to try to get something done here, taking out a couple of Queens, but this is not really that great a trade. He's taking out the Queens, but these aren't injecting Queens. These are just creep spread Queens. And overall, with the Roaches coming in here to do a little more damage as well, these Hellions lost a lot in their number. And there's still active creep tumors out on the map, so those Queens, while they were nice to have, they weren't exactly critical here. So Happy not
Penguin though
very efficiently.
The Hellions, they're coming around the back, and because the Roaches are pushing across the map, there's very little to defend against this back at home. This could be an opening for Happy to get some more damage, but has he overcommitted? Because at the same time, we've now got Snute pushing across the map with those Roaches.
Well, he is getting the good damage done here. Good splits coming out of Snute, but the fact of the matter is there's no units there to clean those up before the Hellions kill them all anyways, just buying himself a little extra time. A little bit of counter damage done here by Snute, able to clean up the not too saturated worker line there at the third, including a couple of mules. Some of these Hellions going to try to make it on into the natural, not quite going to work as the Lings do pop on out. Up at this point, 35 worker kills for Happy is a very nice number hit for him to be sitting at here. An excessive number even, as Happy's still down in the workers, but with the mules and triple CCs, he's in a really good spot.
Now, the counterattack by Snute did deal some damage. 4 SCVs were killed, a couple of mules met their fate, and there was a short lift on the third orbital command. But what Happy's been able to do is nice and steadily glide into that mid-game, where he can start amassing a larger mech force, he can start really ramping up his economy. And unfortunately for Snute, he's taken a lot of damage. He's not in a great position to be dealing with mech yet. He's going for the Spire, which could be a really good choice. But Happy, he's already starting up that Thor production. Hasn't seen the Spire, this is just part of his build.
Yeah, this is a really, really nice way to play this out as Happy as well. He knows he's done a lot of damage, so Snute's going to have to be producing a lot of drones, which means probably no really big Roach play or anything like that, which means that basically the only thing that he has to prepare for is mutas at this point in time. So getting the Thors out earlier is going to basically shut that down as long as he doesn't misplace turrets here. But with turrets and mineral lines, I would almost like to see him add on one more turret per base just to be safe. But at this point, he's in a really good spot either way. He's up in supply by about 15. 73 drones, Snute's done a really good job of reproducing those, but even more Hellions coming in trying to get some damage done. Doesn't look like they'll be able to, but Happy's still trying to see what he can do.
To be honest, for Happy, sending those Hellions in serves 2 purposes. The first is he keeps Snute back trying to defend, which is irritating. It just means that Snute can't move out easy. Secondly, he scouted the 4th base coming down, and admittedly Snute is taking the double expansion, which I think is a really cool move for him, but Happy, he's just keeping tabs of what is happening. He's leveling the upgrades, he's got a greater army supply at the moment, and his worker count is only down by 3.
Now, 17 mutas, though, that's a lot of mutas. That's too many mutas for one turret to deal with, in my opinion. If Happy doesn't react all that fast, the Thors aren't really in great positions. With only one missile turret up here, he could try to do some damage here onto the natural expansion of Happy. Happy behind this, though, is going to be adding on those extra starports to try to go up to that Sky Terran transition. Hellions, once again, not going to be able to get too much done here at the natural as they are shut down. I think they may have confirmed the base. Yeah, they confirmed the 5th base, but not getting too much done. Actually, they do kill off 4 drones, so not completely in vain.
Further threat though, these Mutalisks now moving into the main. The missile turret being repaired up quickly, getting quite a bit of damage down, and while the SCV count is starting to fall, the Thors are now here. What is at the 3rd base though? All of the Thors were brought up, and that means defense down at this 3rd is really lacking. Just that missile turret, and Snute seems happy to trade these Mutalisks for a couple more SCV kills.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty decent trade here with Happy only on 3 bases. He's killing off a lot of workers, up to 19 worker kills in this little skirmish on his own. The turret goes down. Finally, the Thor's coming over, but not before 21 additional workers have fallen, bringing Snute up to a total killed of 25 this game. We do have more and more Hellions coming across the map. Some are moving on over towards the 4th base, but some of the drones have already been evacuated. Ling's going over to try to shut down the Hellions before they do too much, and they do buy time for some of the mutas to come on over as well. Looks like a couple of these drones could go down. He does kill off 3 by the looks of it, maybe even a 4th. There we go. But still, it's not the greatest of trades here because there's still 66 drones on the map, and he just sacrificed about 700 minerals for 7 drone kills.
The one thing going, or one of the things going for Happy really well at the moment, Penguin, is his army supply. While he's lost a couple of workers, Snute has not been able to deal any damage to this mech force that's slowly amassing. Already at 150 supply. If we see Happy able to max out, that's when a mech force gets to its scariest.
Now, an interesting thing to note is that with Swarm Hosts on the way here, while Happy's in a great spot right now, he's actually only got 3 tanks. So if Snute can buy enough time for himself to get a lot of Swarm Hosts out, he's already up by 2 bases. He's going to be in a position where if Happy goes for like a big mech push, if he doesn't add on tanks, and he is going to start doing that now, but even if he doesn't have a great number of tanks, he won't be able to push through the Swarm Host numbers if they get on up there. But he is already moving out now, and the Swarm Hosts haven't even all spawned yet.
And this is where the move out can hit that critical timing. With 9 Swarm Hosts on the field, that's not yet reaching that big critical mass. Generally you want 12 plus before you're going to be starting to fend this off. And if Happy moves out fast, takes out this 5th base, Snute is going to be feeling some pain.
Yeah, the Swarm Hosts are going to try to get done what they can. One of them is going to go down before anything can really happen. These little Locusts are going to do some damage. They do kill off several of the Hellbats. Mutas, though, need to come on back as well. But the problem is there's so many Thors here, and the Swarm Host count isn't quite what it needs to be. It's at 15, which is pretty good, but they're not even all there yet. Some of them are still coming and rallying on in, and they didn't start engaging the army when it was moving across the map. They're just engaging it now as Happy's already basically in his face.
Counterattack coming down from Snute. There's a couple of Lings dealing some damage. The Mutas picking off a few tanks, but there's so many missile turrets, and the army of Snute, that's just slowly getting taken down. Scans granting vision. Bailing's trying to come through to get that big burst fire. And while the tank count is dwindling, there's still so many Thors.
This, though, Snute will hold on eventually because there's not anything that deals particularly well with these Swarm Hosts. The big question is how much damage can Snute get done on the other side of the map here. He's trying to gut the mineral lines, he's trying to do what he can, and while Happy's picked off 2 of the bases here, that's not going to be enough in the long run as this mech army is continuing to dwindle in size. He needs to get more damage done.
Just as mech is really powerful, if it does get up to a sizable force, if that army dies, it takes so long to get it back up, even if you're on a full 3 base saturation, which Happy isn't. He's down to 37 SCVs, he's taken a lot of damage, and the remaining Thors are going to get taken down, while the majority of those Swarm Hosts, 16 of them, are still alive.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure not any Swarm Hosts, except for like 2 before the fights really started, actually went down. And from here, Snute's actually solidified himself into a fantastic place this game. There's no Sky Terran transition coming, despite the additional starports being there. They still don't have add-ons. We still don't see any kind of Raven switch or anything like that. And Happy, he's only on 43 SCVs, which isn't terrible for mech, but it is when you're this low in supply. It's not like he's already sacrificing SCVs to max out with a bigger mech force. He just doesn't have much of anything at the moment. Snoot's maxed out. He's got 61 workers, which means that that's not a huge amount of workers either, which means his army supply is huge. It's at 126 compared to the 75 of Happy here, and he's got a great army composition with 21 Swarm Hosts and 26 Madalists.
The counterattack by Snute, that was the big play that's got him into this really nice position. Because he knew the Swarm Hosts were coming out, and that he had the option.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we have a Hellion run by that's killed off 16 additional workers here over at the 4th base. Just catching the tail end of that. 72 workers killed by Happy this game. And what were you going to say before, Madals?
I was just saying, the fact that Snoop managed to counterattack and did that economic damage, knowing his Swarm Hosts would be able to hold, has got him in this nice position. And it's actually Happy now on the defensive. And with his tank count pretty low, these Locusts really are going to be taking a good chunk of his army out every single wave.
Even focused down a tank with the Locusts there as well. Nicely done. Muta's going to pop on into the natural, going to pick off those turrets in seconds, gutting the mineral line. 11 workers killed there as well. The last turret there could fall as well. A couple of Thors trying to come on in to do what they can, but the Mutas, they're just going to leave. Pop on into the main here. The Thors, they may have a long range, but they're not anywhere near as mobile as the Mutas. They're getting some good shots off, though. Killing off some of the Mutas. A little bit sloppy here for Snute, but he's in such a good position, it doesn't particularly matter. Gonna have to watch these 3 Hellions coming on into the undefended 5th base over here to get some more workers killed. There are so many workers dying this game. This is not a good game to be a Harvester.
It really isn't. We've already got 78 killed and 66 killed for each side respectively. Bit of a problem, but I'd say the bigger problem is Happy. He's trying to hold on, but his 3rd base is already being sieged. Snute split up his Swarm Hosts into 2 separate groups to split the Locusts further, preventing the splash damage from the tanks, taking them out particularly quickly. And that's what allows Snute to get into this 3rd and start dealing some really significant damage.
More and more Hellions coming out to run by. We have Happy splitting them into groups of 3, which is nice because that's exactly how many you need with Blue Flame to one-shot the workers. And he's seeing what he can do. He's trying to get himself back into this game as best as he possibly can, but Snute now seems to be pretty on top of the defense. He's realized what Happy's doing. He got caught off guard a couple of times, but here we go. 6 Hellions for 3 workers. Not a good trade there. 2 of them did escape over on the left side, so they will still have their lives. GG's called, though. Happy realizes there's no way back into this game for him, and Snute is going to take game number 1.